Will the committee supply please come to order? Before we resume consideration of the estimates for the Department of Families, we have one small item of business to attend to. It was brought to our attention that this section of the committee supply passed two resolutions with incorrect dollar amounts during its last meeting. The reason the amounts were incorrect was an administrative error. The dollar amounts in these resolutions were not updated after an errata, and revisions to the estimates were tabled in May. Specifically, an errata updated Resolution 7.1 in the Department of Finance to reduce it from $8,507,000 to $7,684,000. Also, a revision to the estimates of tax credits reduced the amount of Resolution 33.1 from $515,571,000 to $114,071,000. Therefore, this section of the committee supply will need to reconsider these two resolutions, and I will now put the questions again. Resolution 7.1, resolved that be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $7,684,000 for finance, administration, and finance for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 33.1, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $114,071,000 for tax credits, tax rebates, and fees for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? The resolution is accordingly passed. Thank you. This section of the committee supply will now resume consideration of estimates for the Department of Families. Questioning for this department will proceed in a global manner. The floor is now open for questions. The member for Point Douglas.
Miigwech, Mr. Chair. Previously in estimates, we asked about Family Services providing MNP with a direct award for $251,000 in June. The minister said that it was for an assessment tool regarding disability benefits. Can the minister elaborate on what exactly this assessment tool is for?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
I appreciate the member's question about the Disability Income Support Program and our efforts to roll that out successfully to all of our clients. We have a two-part application process for bringing clients into the Disability Income Support Program. The first one is really about determining the severity of the individual's disability, and then the second is determining their functionality to ensure that they are suitable, they're being placed in the suitable category. So the assessment is incredibly important. We want it to be a community center, a client-centered approach to the assessment, and are really relying heavily on community to provide us with feedback and guidance and leadership in ensuring that we strike the right balance. The consultation with community is happening right now, and determining the assessment to the appropriate assessment tool is really going to be critical to ensure the successful transition of all of our clients from the current EIA program into the new Disability Income Support Program.
The member for Point Douglas.
Okay, I thank the minister for that question. That was my next question. What was it going to be used for? So I don't need to ask that. My last question, can the minister explain why the assessment tool costs so much and when will it be launched?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
Thank you, and I'm sure the member will agree that in the end, we need to have a really complex tool that will really meet the needs of the most vulnerable Manitobans who will be enrolled in this program. And so we really needed to invest in a tool that would help us transition clients and assess their individual needs so we can deliver person-centered programming for all of the clients. So in addition to contracting out experts to help us develop that assessment tool, we wanted also for them to really take a thorough look at a jurisdictional scan, ensure that we're including community input, which is sometimes costly and very timely, and come up with a Made in Manitoba tool that will really fit the needs of the clients that we serve. Because in the end, we want a tool that is really reliable so that everybody who deserves to be in the program will have a speedy entry into the program, will be assessed as quickly as possible to get in. And we also want it to have a consistent approach so that it doesn't matter where you live in the province of Manitoba, you will receive the same assessment and be eligible for the benefits that you're that you're entitled to. So in Brandon, Thompson, Winnipeg, doesn't matter what office you go to, you're going to get the same level of assessment and ultimately be eligible for benefits that you need.
The member for Point Douglas.
Can the minister tell us when it'll be launched?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
So I can update the committee that phase one of the implementation of the new disability income support program will occur in phase one. We don't need the assessment tool for phase one because these are individuals that will be coming into the program that already are in a prescribed class, meaning they're a CLDS client or another individual who's pre-screened. We know that they're coming in and they don't need a broader assessment. When we do need the assessment to the assessment tool in place will be immediately following the phase one launch, and that's when we will be screening in Manitobans who are either on EIA but not in a prescribed class, or Manitobans who are not even currently on EIA but want to apply. We need that tool available for those assessments, and that will be available in late winter or early spring.
The member for Point Douglas.
Okay, I thank the minister for that answer. I have no further questions.
Is there any further questions? If not, seeing none, we will now put forward question of the resolutions. Resolution 9.2, resolve that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $1,334,480,000 for families community services delivery for the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? Pass. The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 9.3, resolve that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $39,581,000 for families corporate services for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? Pass. The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 9.4, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $500,538,000 for families, child and youth services for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 9.5, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $138,716,000 for families housing for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 9.6, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $4,100,000 for families, transformation and technology for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 9.7, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $45,000 for families, capital assets for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 9.8, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $15 million for families, loans, and guarantee programs for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 9.9, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $67 million for families, other reporting entities, capital investment for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? The resolution is accordingly passed. The last item to be considered for the estimates of this department is item 9.1, bracket A, the minister's salary contained in resolution 9.1. At this point, we request the minister's staff leave the table for the consideration of this last item. The floor is open for questions. The member for Point Douglas.
I'd like to make an amendment. Is this where I make the amendment, or I'll wait until after? Or I'd like to move a motion. Okay, so I move that line item 9.18 bracket A be amended so that the Minister of Family salary be reduced to $21,000.
It has been moved by the honorable member for Point Douglas that line item 9.1 bracket A be amended so that the Minister of Family salary be reduced to $12,000. Sorry, I would correct that, $21,000. The motion is in order. Are there any questions or comments on this motion? Seeing none, is the committee ready for the question? Shall the motion pass? No. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed to the motion, please say nay. Nay. In my opinion, the nays have it. Carrying on, Resolution 9.1 then, resolved that they're granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $4,200,000 for families, administration, and finance for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Shall the resolution pass? Pass. The resolution is accordingly passed. This completes the estimates of the Department of Families. The next set of estimates to be considered by this section of the Committee of Supply is for sport, culture, and heritage. So shall we briefly recess to allow the minister and the critics to prepare for the next set of estimates? Agreed? I hear agreement on that. Committee recess. Minister, can you hear me? And are you good to go? Sorry, couldn't hear you. You were muted there?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Can you hear me?
Yes, you sound good.
Perfect. Okay, and you sound good too. Mr. Chair.
And look good too.
Always, always.
Will the committee supply please come to order? This section of the committee supply will now consider the estimates of the Department of Sport, Culture, and Heritage Does the Honorable Minister have an opening statement?
I do.
The Honorable Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to welcome my colleagues and members opposite. It's an honor and a privilege as Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage to introduce the 2022-2023 budgetary estimates for my department. I'd first like to introduce the members of my department who are with me today. Jeff Nadiak, Deputy Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage. Mike Sosiak, Assistant Deputy Minister and Executive Financial Officer, Administration and Finance. Veronica Dick, Assistant Deputy Minister of Culture and Sport Programs. Kathleen Epp, Acting Archivist of Manitoba. Juliet Tetro, Director of Strategic Priorities. We also have Brad Robertson, the Chief of Protocol, and Rob Maurice, Executive Director of Crown Services. COVID-19 has disrupted the arts, culture, and sports sectors over the past few years. And despite its impact, my department continues to adapt and evolve to address the changing needs of Manitobans. We recognize the challenges facing cultural organizations, artists, entrepreneurs, severely affected by the facility closures, programming, event cancellations, and significant loss of revenues and jobs. An initial investment of $6 million allocated to the Manitoba Arts Council and the Manitoba Film and Music provided support to 175 arts and culture organizations and professional music industry companies and 90 artists. In February, we announced the renewal of the $6 million Arts and Culture Sustainability Fund. These funds will continue to help stabilize operations and support organizations in adapting their programs to ensure a more resilient and sustainable arts and culture sector. Starting this year, we established a new Arts and Culture and Sports Community Fund, providing enhanced support for capital projects and programming related to arts, culture, and sport initiatives in communities right across our great province. A total of $100 million will be invested over the next 3 years, including $34 million in 22-23. This fund will address the needs across the sector for capital projects, capacity building, and community celebrations in Manitoba. Manitoba's cultural and creative industries continue to be a key economic driver, projecting a total production value of nearly $300 million in 21-22. Nearly $3.6 million was provided to the Manitoba Film and Music to ensure that Manitoba production companies servicing the industry, including more than 2,500 professionals, were able to remain active throughout the pandemic. A number of tax credit programs supported industries struggling during the pandemic. The Film and Video Tax Credit Program enhances the cost of production tax credit with an 8% Manitoba company bonus in 2020. In addition, a 10% frequent filming bonus on the cost of salaries tax credit supports productions that experience delays resulting from necessary health restrictions. Further, the book publishing tax credit was made permanent in 2021. It has been a challenging year for sport in our province, both in our amateur sports sector and for Manitoba's professional sport teams. We recognize that children and adults whose sports activities have been impacted by the pandemic have missed the physical and mental health benefits of interacting with friends and their peers. Manitoba provincial sport organizations are committed to delivering a welcoming, safe, and fun sport experience for Manitobans of every age group, gender, and skill level. In recognition of the importance of our sport in our province, we are continuing to invest over $13 million in sport through our relationship with Sport Manitoba. We are also committed to ensuring the ongoing sustainability of sporting entertainment industries, which have been impacted by COVID-related restrictions. My department will provide $5 million in enhanced support to the Manitoba Jockey Club for the operation of Assiniboia Downs. Manitoba's public libraries are essential community hubs. Our government has demonstrated understanding of the valuable work done by public libraries by confirming an additional $769,000 in investment in the public library sector and supporting the development of responsive local policies and services. Heritage grant programs and technical support services to community-based museums and organizations ensure that the unique people, places, and events that played a role in shaping Manitoba are remembered, and the irreplaceable resources we have inherited as a legacy continues to be conserved. Manitoba's heritage community provides public programming and builds awareness of how heritage conservation enhances community cultural infrastructure and in turn contributes to growing our cultural tourism potential. Over 175 organizations are supported in preserving Manitoba's heritage, as well as educating and engaging Manitobans in heritage programming. We partnered with the Winnipeg Foundation to establish a $25 million trust fund to preserve the Hudson's Bay Building, one of Winnipeg's cherished landmarks. The initial $25 million investment will support the preservation of heritage elements of the Bay Building as part of the Southern Chiefs Organization initiative to transform the building into a new, vibrant space that will provide Indigenous peoples with a range of services, including affordable housing for families, elders, and post-secondary students. We will be investing $621,000 in additional grant assistance in 2022 for various heritage grant programs. This includes increased support for the previously established Heritage Resource Conservation Grant and Military Memorial Conservation Grant programs. It also includes new funding support for the Community Museum Support Grants Program and Heritage Initiatives programs, which are funded through the annual return on investment generated through the Bay Building Endowment Fund. The Archives of Manitoba continue to work on replacing the Manitoba Information and Records Administration, or MIRA, information system. MIRA is a standalone information control system that supports government records and information management. It is a legacy system that must be replaced in order to support a shift towards increased digital record-keeping capabilities. Archives of Manitoba continues to improve access to archival records by increasing online content. Nearly 3,000 digitized copies of archival records were added to the Archives Keystone database. Additional digitized films were added to its webpage. The Your Archives blog was extended, and information about records and services was tweeted through our Twitter channel. As part of the government reorganization in January, we were happy to welcome back the Legislative Library, Protocol and Military Envoy Office, Lieutenant Governor's Office, and Travel Manitoba into our departmental fold. In 21-22, Legislative Library staff continue to provide metadata for the library's collection of early legislative reporting. A fully searchable digitized newspaper coverage is available to researchers through the library's webpage, and the application that runs both the digital collection of Manitoba government publications and the early legislative reporting database is being monetized. The province will provide a total of $13.865 million in provincial funding to Travel Manitoba in 22-23. Despite the impact of COVID-19 on the travel and hospitality industries, our government has maintained funding to sustain our investment in tourism and travel marketing, as the tourism industry is critical to Manitoba's economic recovery efforts. Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries continues to play an important part in generating revenue for the provincial budget from gaming, cannabis, and liquor sales. Each year, Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries remits millions of dollars to the province to spend on education, healthcare, and other services, with $597.8 million remitted to the 21-22 fiscal year. I'd like to highlight that corporate social responsibility is a legislative mandate for Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. Each year, 2% of net income is directed to alcohol and gaming responsible consumption and addiction services. 2022 marks both the year of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, as well as the death of Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. With an unprecedented 70 years on the throne, Queen Elizabeth II was Britain's longest reigning monarch. All provinces, including Manitoba, will participate in the Queen's Platinum Jubilee programming. Manitoba will provide a total of $183,275 for provincial commemorations administered by the Protocol and Military Envoy Office. The medal program will award a medal to Manitobans, or to 1,000 Manitobans. Lastly, I'd like to extend my gratitude to my entire department staff for their dedication and service to Manitobans throughout the pandemic. They responded with skill and dedication the challenges presented by the crisis and pave the path forward towards a sustainable recovery of our arts, sports, and cultural community at large. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Minister, and we thank you for those comments. Does the critic for the official opposition have an opening statement? Thank you. So we will proceed. Under Manitoba practice, debate on the minister's salary is the last item considered for a department in the Committee of Supply. Accordingly, we shall now defer consideration of line item 14.1 bracket A contained in resolution 14.1. According to our rule 77 bracket 16, during the consideration of departmental estimates, questioning for each department shall proceed in a global manner, with questions put separately on all resolutions once the official opposition critic indicates that questioning has concluded. The floor is now open for questions. The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the Minister for opening remarks. Thanks all the committee members for being here. I would start with a question to the Minister about who are the Minister's political staff?
And Minister, just want to remind you, when you are ready to answer the question, please give me a good indication or a wave and I can acknowledge you. If you're looking like you're talking, I can't hear you.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Good. Okay. My question is, do you need me to repeat
Just
that?
hang on. The Honorable Minister of Sport, Cultures and Heritage.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll repeat the names. I'm not sure if it was recorded and answered the first time around here. So my political staff are Teresa Sanchez, Bumi Ore Beshola, and Suki Jandu.
The member for the Boroughs.
I thank the Minister for the details. I would like to ask about the vacancy rate in the department.
Minister, if you can, if you're indicating that you want to speak, can you please raise your hand just about to the level of your face, about here? There. Now I can see you, and then I can recognize you to speak. So, the Honourable Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as of September 28th, we have a vacancy rate of 21.4%. That's turns out to be 23.6 FTEs. Currently, though, we are in the process and actively filling in 14 positions.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thank the minister for this information, and I just want to ask the vacancy rate in 2016 and 2019 in this department respectively.
The Honorable Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. In 2019, we had a rate of 23.6%. And for 2016, we'd have to take that under advisement.
The member for Burrows.
You, Mr. Chair, can the minister repeat the last part? I didn't quite get it. For 2019, he said 23.6, and for 2016?
The Honorable Minister.
Yes, I'll repeat that for the member opposite. Yes, for 2016, would it be possible for us to take that under advisement and get back to you when we get that number?
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The minister mentioned about them recruiting 14 positions. Can the minister share some details about the timeline? Are the positions already advertised, or they are planning to advertise, and when would they start and end the recruitment process for those 14 positions, and what those positions are?
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so to answer the member's question, we have looking for 4 archaeologists. They have been posted now. We're looking for 8 new staff or programming policy staff for the ACSC fund and 2 staff for strategic policy branch. Processes are certainly underway and hiring should be completed in the next few months.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the information from the minister. Just wanted to know, has this government done any recruitment since 2019 in this department? And how many retirements have been seen since 2019 till date?
The Honorable Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So since 2019, we've had 22 retirements, and we've recruited recruitments of 49.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask the Minister, the Premier and the Minister put forward a bid for the Grey Cup, including a proposed $5.5 million bid. Can the Minister provide a bit more information about how this money breaks down? And is this all towards a potential bid? Some of it in the case that Winnipeg won the bid?
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I first of all want to say it's quite an exciting opportunity for Winnipeg and Manitoba in general. You know, we've done the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have done exceptionally well this year, and we're hoping for a Grey Cup victory again. That would be not only welcome, but certainly well deserved for our Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I know they've done a tremendous job over the last few years, the last few seasons, and bringing home the Grey Cup is just something I think that after a long period of COVID, it's really nice to see that, and give Manitobans and Winnipeggers a break and some nice welcome good news after some tough, challenging times. The bid, as the member asked, it's contingent on whether or not Winnipeg gets the bid here or gets the cup here. Some of that money will go for the bid. Some of it will be going to the Grey Cup Festival, and of course, there'll be some of it will be going to the amateur sport legacy impacts here in Manitoba. So again, I know this is a tremendous opportunity for us as a province. It's estimated that this will give us around a $90 million boost in economic activity and result in about $8.2 million in tax revenue. Something that not only it boosts the morale of our citizens and boosts the morale of Winnipeggers, but certainly would have an economic boost in addition to that with all the other restaurants and hotels and different types of retailers that would benefit from having a Grey Cup here in this great city. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wondering about how much funding has been transferred to the Curling Center of Excellence and what is its current status?
The Honourable Minister.
Fair. Well, currently, as you know, or my colleague opposite might know, is there's $15 million was given in 2020 to a not-for-profit. It's the International Curling Center for Excellence Board, or ICCE for per acronym. And at this point, they are still in the planning and consultation phase. We know that Manitoba has always been a home for curling, and certainly has developed a lot of incredible talent in this province and in the city of Winnipeg, of course, outside the city as well. So very proud that Manitoba is an internationally recognized for curling and internationally recognized for producing world-class talent. And again, I provide the member with an answer to his question.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What the government intends to spend this money on? Is it like infrastructure or sports programs or promotion? Can the minister share some details about it?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as I had mentioned in my previous answer, the $15 million is currently with a not-for-profit organization, International Curling Center for Excellence, or ICCE. And they're going to use the money for the purposes of the development of the sport of curling in the province. And as I mentioned before, curling is a very Manitoba actually is a very well-respected province when it comes to curling. We've developed a number of incredible international talent that we proudly can say hails from Manitoba. So we're certainly the home of curling is in Canada and probably around the world. And again, like I said earlier, that the ICCE organization has the $15 million and they use it for the development of the sport of curling in our province.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask what funds has the department established with the Winnipeg Foundation and how much intended to flow this year, and also how much was it last year?
the Honorable Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I say our government has made key commitments in the heritage sector by working with the Winnipeg Foundation. And there's a few things we've partnered with them on. Stat one, establishing a $10 million worth of endowments for a signature museum, investing $25 million with the Bay Building Fund, and launching the Manitoba Heritage Trust Program, allocated the amount of $5 million in support of establishment of over 60 new trusts in the heritage sector across Manitoba.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As per the supplementary estimates, it says that the budget 2022 is providing $621,000 for various heritage grant programs from endowments. Can the minister clarify, is that the total amount being provided from all the endowment funds this year?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the increase year over year for community museums is 240,000. The heritage initiatives, 200,000. The increase to the heritage resource conservation program is 118,000, and the military memorial is an increase of 63,000.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just trying to understand who controls this endowment funds? Who decides when these are awarded and who gets them?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And so the Winnipeg Foundation actually has the funds, but based on annual returns, the department allocates funding to the recipients based on established criteria.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's about Travel Manitoba's review of parks. Just wanted to know, Travel Manitoba has completed a review of the parks. Has the minister received it yet? And would he be able to provide it to us?
The Honorable Minister of Sport, Culture, and Heritage.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, I thank the member for the question on that. Certainly aware that a report was done and waiting to be briefed and having further conversations with my colleagues in ECP, Environment, Climate, and Parks, and looking forward to that more information becoming or available in the not too distant future.
Member for Burrows.
Would the minister be able to share that once he gets it?
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the member for the question. And as I mentioned earlier, more information is forthcoming.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Consolidated expenditures are provided on page 33 of the department's annual report. It shows a year-over-year reduction of $31 million. Can the minister explain?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to answer the member's question, that amount does reflect the one-time Bay Building Fund amount, which was $25 million. That amount was not repeated the following year.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can the minister share details on recent infrastructure upgradation at Manitoba Centennial Center for last 2 years?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. And as that's a provincial asset, that does fall underneath the Labor, Consumer Protection and Government Services Department.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to know if the minister knows a little bit about this department, because this infrastructure and that institution is very important in our arts world, theater world, and so many concerts are held there. Does the minister know something about the infrastructure development? I repeat it. And are there any further main stage upgradation planned? If the minister can share some information about it, I'm pretty sure minister should know something about it, if not all.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate my colleague across the way asking an important question. We know that sports and culture is very important not only to Winnipeg but to all of Manitoba, and then Triple C plays a very vital role in that. I would, since we do work very closely in my department and government services works very closely, I will endeavor to get more information for you and keep this under advisement.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the answer. Can the minister provide us with the number of tourists that visited Manitoba over the past several years?
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In 2019, so that's pre-pandemic, there were 10.6 million visitors to Manitoba. 94% from Canada, 5% from the United States, 1% were international. And early indicators, certainly we know that COVID years drastically affected the number of visitors to Manitoba, but early indications are showing that we will be back to pre-pandemic levels.
Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the Minister for the details. Can the Minister provide us with his plan to encourage tourism in Manitoba, whether locally or from out-of-province tourists?
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I thank the member for the question. Our government is continuously investing $13.86 million annually for the Travel Manitoba, and that funding was sustained through COVID. The Travel Manitoba is continuing to work on their tourism strategy, and I know that they worked very hard on Francophone tourism strategy and an Indigenous tourism strategy. So I look forward to our government continuing to work with Travel Manitoba and knowing that we continue to attract people from all over Canada and other parts of the continent and even the world to come to see our beautiful province.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the Minister for the details. Talking about climate, can the Minister outline how climate change will impact tourism in Churchill, specifically regarding polar bear tourism?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the member for that question. I would say that this would be mostly out of scope for our department here in Travel Manitoba. I would say that's probably more Environment, Climate, and Parks would take the lead on that particular issue. Having said that, Travel Manitoba does monitor these things closely and works closely with ECP, Environment, Climate, and Parks, on these types of issues.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Talking about film industry, can the Minister tell us how much economic activity was spurred in Manitoba as a result of the film industry?
the Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's a great question because I know the film industry's had its best year ever in 21-22 with $365 million bringing into the province of Manitoba here. You know, our government's been very supportive of the film industry. We've actually made permanent the tax credit. It's the best in Canada, most competitive. And it was good to see that it's a number of production facilities here in the province. Just recently, I had a chance to have a tour of the Manitoba Production Center, where they're filming Spencer Sisters, which is going to be a great series by the looks of it, and a chance to go on stage there and actually see some of the actual production going on, or not production going on, but the stage itself and some of the settings. And it was, world class. My understanding, world class facility, very competitive with other jurisdictions across the country. So looking forward to our continued support for this incredibly important industry in the province of Manitoba.
The member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would ask, what is the minister's plan to further grow the film industry in Manitoba?
Order. Hour being 5 p.m. Committee rise.